So we're almost through winter. It's like a couple of weeks away from. Oh no, we're like 20. We're like a month away from winter being over. And it's easy to forget because just a couple days ago it was like 50 something degrees, and tomorrow it's going to be 60 degrees, and but today there was snow on the ground. so, so I know that I know it's not over, but I want it to be over. Like I really want it to be over. I don't even know why. It hasn't been that bad of a winter. It's actually only been really excruciatingly cold like 2 times.
I know it's getting closer to summer because the pigeons are staying later. They're staying until after 5 now.
The pigeon timer.
Well, it's like they're pretty good about being a timer. Yeah, during the worst part, I think they would get here around 8:30 or 9, and then go to bed about like 4, and then it's just increasingly later and later. But
Pigeons
now
are
it's like,
smart. I think they have an idea of just how long it takes to get back to wherever they're roosting.
oh yeah, for sure. Because then
Humans are not smart.
if it's funny, they like you can tell there's like the last call when they're all about to leave, and then sometimes one or two will get left behind, and they're just like they look so pitiful, but they clearly know how to get back. So I mean, that's like one of their main things is being able to get back home. So it's
Yeah,
like I think it's just safer to travel in the packs is the issue.
I think that's just like the nature of all humans. I remember when I was still of like interested in going out and would go to a bar and just hang out with people. And then as the night, goes on and on, people slowly trickle away. And at the end of it all, like there's always like one person or two people just standing around looking like they don't have anywhere to go. And of course, here I am waiting for like the last of whoever I'm hanging out with to finish their drink so we can just like leave. And but it always struck me as like this has to be like a common phenomenon. Standing at some place, it's closing time, or it's the end of the evening, or whatever, and there are like just people who just stand there like they don't know what they're doing. Similarly, I see a lot of people driving that drive like they don't know where they're going. So I think that's actually like more than just not knowing where someone's going. They don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, Americans really they perpetually aren't paying attention to other people on the road, but also they don't know how to judge vehicle speeds and trajectories and things like that. So stop way too they stop way too late, and then take turns way too fast or way too slow. It's like they
They can't make up their minds.
yeah.
Meanwhile, every car on the road today, like if it's within like I think like 10 years old, is practically a race car compared to the vehicles that were around in the '90s. I mean, there were some fast cars in the '90s. I'm not like I don't have illusions about that, but I mean, cars of today are zippy fast. Like holy crap, zippy fast. That or people just want to like go go go, and they're just lead footed. I'm just not part of that culture, and so it's foreign to me. But even in my modern car that can do that stuff, I don't drive like that. So maybe that really is just me. I don't know. I've been noticing this stuff because I was out earlier and I just saw a bunch of people just they were either you know how like sometimes the accordion forms on the interstate when traffic starts to get a little thick, everyone starts getting closer and closer to each other. Well, I wasn't on the interstate, but I noticed that there was this accordion that was forming going up this hill, and it's not like anyone was going slow. That was the weird part. Like I was trying to match the speed of the vehicle way in front of me, and they were going the speed limit. They're going faster than the speed limit. Everyone's either running late and they're in a hurry, or I don't know. I just don't get it.
Well, at this point there's no reason that people shouldn't be
On time.
in a drive. Well, that too, but they should have driving simulators at driver's education. The driving simulators are too good in modern times for it not to be a part of driver's education. And I think the issue is just there's just a bunch of fucking boomers running things. So it's like you take your driving test in a real car, and that's about it. Like your driving permit is done in a real car with somebody watching over you. But there's no reason they shouldn't have simulators that are set up like full on cars, you know. And it's funny, I've seen people will go to junkyards and buy the interiors from old vehicles and like use those as their simulator setups. So it's like, you know, if you want a Porsche simulator cockpit, you go find a junk Porsche and then you can make one not cheap, but it's way cheaper than buying an actual Porsche. And this is the issue where it's way safer to put somebody in a virtual car cockpit and in the process have one that's like accessible to people who are looking to not just get a driver's license. That should be part of it. The goal should be to become a good driver who gets licensed. At this point, it's just you got to pass
So
tests
easy
and
to
get a
get a
license.
license. It's so easy to get a driver's license. I bet most people would be unable to get a CDL or a chauffeur's license.
Right. Yeah.
I saw this really cool simulator on, I guess YouTube. It's either YouTube or Facebook, maybe Instagram. Anyways, it's like a truck, a big truck, like a semi truck simulator, but the person like developed the entire cab, like forward cab portion, like and because the windshields on big trucks are pretty much flat or right up in front of them, he just had giant screens in front of him, and it looked
Yeah, the American trucking simulator setups
it
are
looks
cool.
so fucking rad. The guy had he had the freaking like horn, the air horn actuator like on the string, like in the at the above the cab or the in the ceiling at the headliner. Had all sorts of switches and stuff. Had a big gear shift situation thing going, and it was just fascinating. Like incredible attention to detail. It looks like you're inside of the cab of a large vehicle, except for the screens. You know, it still looks like a video game in there.
Well, some of those American trucking simulator setups are they make me wish I'd like to drive slow in a way where I didn't realize because it's fun to watch, but I would never be able to drive that slow for that long. And actually, it's just then
It's
when
a
you watch
variation of precision driving.
for sure, but when you watch it, it makes you appreciate the semi drivers in that they have to master the gear shifts and master the braking speeds
Oh
and
yeah, because those
you
engines
know
only have like 3,000 RPM of rev range that's usable. Total rev band.
but it's like imagine trying to brake with uh, a trailer full of stuff. Like
Oh yeah,
it's way different than driving a fucking
yeah. They got to stop 80,000 pounds.
hatchback.
80,000 pounds. I've always marveled at semis actually, because to me they represent this variation on the theme of high performance vehicle that is we sometimes forget to consider, but those engines run for like 1,000,000 miles and they put out so much power that they have to have giant axles and giant differentials and gigantic transmissions. Everything about them is huge, and it's funny because some of them have like like they just have a an 8-cylinder engine, but it's like 12 liters or something obscene. It's like a Caterpillar, like a bulldozer engine practically. And then of course like what are like the Peterbilt or the Kenworths or whatever, like that snout that they have over the engine. It's like the size of a Volkswagen Golf. It's bigger than a Volkswagen Golf.
Yeah, I mean they're amazing feats of engineering.
You just got to
And
really want to drive slow and precisely.
well, I think the issue is as people get older, they stop appreciating them. But kids, when kids are like trying to get a truck driver to honk the horn, that's inherently recognizing this thing is different than the others. It can make noises that our car can't make.
Yeah.
like, like,
I mean, you can add an air horn to a car, and it's just difficult.
I mean, you can, but those come stock on the
Yeah,
semis is
yeah.
the issue.
I mean,
Like,
you got to add a compressor and a tank to store the air, and then you have to put the array of horns because one horn's not enough. You have to have at least two so that you have some
but
dissonance.
also if you yeah, exactly, and I don't know if that's even possible in a car to have enough distance so it's not actually blasting the driver more than anybody else. Like the the front end of a regular car is much smaller and the
I
engine
mean,
is much
I think
smaller. Like,
it'd be just the question is, are you willing to drive with those things exposed all the time? Because there's no way that you can conceal like a horn set for a semi in in a normal vehicle. Maybe in like a full size truck, there might be enough room up in front of the radiator, like in the grill, or maybe they can hide that stuff somewhere in some of those places. But I'm pretty sure that like the only reason semis can even have those things is because they're just gigantic and have a lot of places, a lot of space to put stuff.
well, but then that's where the full size trucks are getting so big that they're barely fitting in regular parking spaces anymore. So it's like,
My dad said something once that like we were driving around and I think it was like a F450 or an F550. He's like, is that a pickup truck? I said, yeah. And he's like, those things are as big as the semis were when I was your age, and maybe it was just an F350, but it was just like a monstrous truck on the road. You can't see around them. Can't see anything when you're next to them. Occasionally, I actually see them pulling something or loaded up, but more often than not, I just see them empty. Like it's one thing when when you see like a big rig, it's like it's almost always pulling something. It's very rare to see those vehicles not pulling something because that means they're not making money. But I see a lot of like really gigantic personal trucks, I guess, that I guess they're just like the boss's truck or something. And they just use it to go around to their work sites. I don't actually know because I don't know anybody who has something like that and actually uses it for any reason. I don't know anybody who has a boat big enough to require like a 3500 or a F350 even or anything like that. Like I don't know anybody who has a trailer who wants to haul stuff all around. I know one person who has like I think it's like a 2500 and they have a trailer, but they also have a farm. I know why they exist, but I don't know like how much longer is that economy going to last?
it's very near the end in that it's a confused, flailing culture that has no soul in the like
Apparently
American car culture used to at least have a soul.
apparently it's a horrible idea to buy like any Ram truck made from like 2018 on because they just eat eat up their ABS modules and the Stellantis can't manufacture enough of them. They're always on back order. So as soon as like that shit goes haywire and that vehicle's not safe to do anything with, it's waiting. It's waiting for parts. It's basically a Harley Davidson at that point. Like and then Ford just had this big issue with their towing module. They have a whole ass recall. Like they're recalling like 500,000 vehicles, and it's this thing like if you plug in to their towing module, the thing that controls the brake light system on a trailer, um, it could suffer a fault, and lo and behold, it signals the actual module that communicates with the transmission, and the transmission will like fail to read input speed and shift the gears into like first gear and blow up transmission or blow up an engine, lock the gears up and spin the lock the rear end up and cause an extremely bad jackknife situation. So they're recalling like a ton of trucks going back to like 2022, like everything they've sold that has a tow package, which is all of their trucks, including the Mavericks, which is actually kind of crazy to me.
So there's definitely something happening with the automobile production cycle. Um, I saw a lot, and it was all 2025s, and I'm like, this is way off because usually they're whatever year you're in, they're usually in the next year,
Yeah.
let alone not the previous year. And it's like in 2026, you would expect the at least half the vehicles to be 2026s
In
and not
2026, this early into 2026, all of those vehicles should be 2026 model car or vehicles, and the only ones that are 2025 should be like,
no, they should be 2027s.
no, right now, this soon.
Yes, they're supposed to be 2027s. Like they used to roll out like early 2027 models and they would flood the lots because they would
Yeah.
be gone. And it's like that's how they would get
No,
people.
I mean, what I mean is that, like, right now, there shouldn't be any 2027 models because they haven't completed the 2026 cycle. It's like, it's so bad.
I mean, not anymore, but
The,
that they used to
oh, yeah.
they
They
be
used to
a
have
year
everything way
ahead.
Everything was way out,
Yeah.
like a forecast practically. No, like I was watching these guys, these like or car sales analyst father son duo. I think they work at a dealership. They have to, but they were talking about their sales figures just dropping month after month after month, and it's because people are trying to bring in their electric vehicles that nobody wants to buy, and so they can only offer people like, you know, 20 cents on the dollar for their electric vehicle, and of course people are like, no, what can I do on trade? And so they'll trade into it because they can offer them slightly more in trade, but then they still have this electric vehicle that they can't really sell. And so there's a lot of these dealerships have ended up getting screwed over because now they have this rolling iPad that nobody wants. Meanwhile, all the vehicles they have are high end and nobody can afford them.
Well, at some point,
It's got to break eventually. This whole like cycle of bullshit has to collapse.
it broke. Yeah,
I mean,
it
I
happened.
know it's broken. It's very clearly broken. This is definitely not a feature. But
Well, the issue.
it has to
Oh,
collapse.
sorry. Go ahead.
It just has to collapse eventually.
Um, something happened where the this is where the repossessions are
Oh
not
yeah.
in line with the missed payments. So there's a shitload of missed payments, and they're not repossessing them because it would trigger a flag for the car economy. So it's like they're basically just letting people slide on not paying for debt that they owe on vehicles that they don't yet own
Yeah.
and not repossessing them just to make sure that it doesn't get worse
So
for the other side of investment.
I've been watching a lot of police chase videos and people getting arrested videos and vehicle repossession videos, a lot of this stuff for the past several months. But the one thing that I've noticed in the past, like actually since the beginning of the year, it seems like most of the repossessions are vehicles that they are probably shouldn't be on the road anyways. And whereas before, a lot of the videos were just anything. It could be a nice car, it'd be a shitty car, it could be a really beat up truck, it could be a completely, perfect condition luxury SUV. And but now all the only stuff I'm seeing are like beat up minivans and some old Altima that definitely shouldn't be on the road. You know, things with broken windshields. An ancient Camaro with flat tires, like all flat tires, stuff like that. It's really strange, and the quantity of them has also decreased, whereas the quantity of people getting pulled over and arrested videos has gone up. I don't think that the actual numbers have increased have changed. It's this the algorithm is feeding more. But also maybe there are
Well,
maybe the repo industry is focusing on hoopties and disheveled
so
vehicles.
I think there's a limit to that type of cycle in that the people who get stuck in high interest car loans also tend to be the type of people who don't realize that cars need to have their like fluids checked, or like if something starts making noise, that means you have to take it and get it checked out. And these people just drive these cars until they break, and then they switch to a new lease.
Yeah,
And that's what's been happening with a lot of Americans. Like, it's not any specific age group either. It's old people, it's middle-aged people, it's young people. And so seeing how automobile illiterate most Americans are, while simultaneously thinking that they are car geniuses because they get in and car go fast. And it's like that means you must be automobile genius if you get in and car go fast, right? Until it breaks down.
I mean
And
there's
so
a lot of manufacturers nowadays are omitting the dipstick. Like you can't even change. You can't even check the oil levels in like or in a lot of German cars. I know that for like I think like almost 2 decades now, like you absolutely have to take your BMW in to get the oil checked, just checked because they don't have a provision for the end user to check their own oil levels. They just have to rely on a sensor.
mm,
but here we are, 2 decades later, and American manufacturers and Japanese manufacturers are also doing it. So it's not a I don't know what it is. They figure out a way to save money. I guess they're saving like $2 per vehicle. That's $2 extra they get in their year end bonus.
I mean, I feel like the issue is their sensors are generally pretty good, but they don't set the alerts at points where
Sensors
it's
can't overcome a negligent vehicle operator.
but also a dipstick can be used incorrectly
That's
even. So
true.
it's like, something so simple, a person who doesn't understand how the difference between a car that's not on versus a car that's running works, they might take their fucking oil with the car
I think
off.
this comes back to your point of like, you know, make car go fast must be car genius. Vroom vroom. Og have love foot.
Which is, that's why all BMW drivers are be there's a class of driver that is a BMW driver, and
Yeah,
it's like,
and Audi
you know,
drivers.
they fucking blow gaskets because they're lead feet. They blame it on the BMW, but it's like, no, that's because every light you come to, you think it's a fucking drag race.
You know,
That's why your oil is
there's
leaking.
a common theme in every video of any BMW that like dumps its gearbox out into a cul-de-sac, and it's because whoever did that was just mashing the pedal until they dropped the clutch and then kabooey, and then it just pukes everything out. And sometimes if we're lucky, that poor car it gets to jump a whole like 2 or 3 feet and slowly roll away so you can see the mess. But most of the time they have to push the car over the mess because they want to see what's going on. And sometimes if we're really lucky, shit catches on fire. And that's one of those rare like, oh man, they really fucked around and found out like the worst kind of way possible. That's like the
So
scariest thing actually to me is like the just the idea of I'm working on a car and I'm using a torch to heat up this bolt or this nut so I can get it off. And there's a chance that things could catch on fire. And that's one of those things that's just always in the back of my mind. Like, I'm surrounded by like plastic and metal and chemicals and petroleum products, and some of this stuff will absolutely burn, and telling how quickly it'll spread if it does happen. And I've seen plenty of videos of like people working on their car just, and then all of a sudden their garage is on fire, and that's terrifying. Maybe the end user doesn't need to be doing that shit. Maybe that's actually where we are. These things are so sophisticated that unless one is willing to really commit, it's probably best that they don't like tempt fate with tampering with what amounts to the closest thing that any of us are ever going to have to owning a spaceship.
Well, and 99 modified cars will be fine, but then the 100th will explode in some random fucking occurrence when it wasn't something that people thought would happen. Or like there's a video of this guy driving a modified I want to say it's like a 64 Impala or some shit, and he's getting it. He gets off the line, fucking, and then the brakes fail, and suddenly it's like this fucking missile with no brakes, and they're on a Californian street. This isn't like a closed um set or any like closed race circuit or anything, and they end up impacting, I think, a tree in the median or something. But it was like everything's fine until it's not. And then especially the more powerful those cars get, it's like, man, I don't care what kind of airbag, fucking foam. Sometimes those cars just disintegrate. Like I saw
Oh yeah, the vehicles that like disassemble themselves when they hit something, it's because they're glued together. That's the new standard. They're not.
I
It's
mean,
not spot welding
that's
anymore.
sometimes, but sometimes these people are getting at such speeds where then it's like, yeah, no amount of fucking welding was gonna keep that thing
Oh
together
sure, yeah.
because they hit a fucking concrete pillar. This Beamer driver was in a parking garage, and the fucking they wrapped a car around a pillar in a parking garage, and it basically disintegrated the entire engine block. And it's like somebody got the car going that fast inside a parking garage, where I'm like, it's always a BMW driver. It's always a BMW driver. But then it makes me like, no civilian car should be going that fast. Like
You
it
know,
gets to
it's true. Like anytime it's not a BMW, it's because like someone stepped on the gas because they thought they were hitting the brake, and they like drove their car through some steel cables, and it's now
Yep.
hanging
Yep.
20 feet above the ground, like suspended
That's
partially
exactly
by a
right.
tree. And it's never like it's always an accident, but it's never inside the parking garage. They've always managed to exit. but but I know exactly what you're talking about. Like uh, they're doing some kind of like entry level gymkhana type thing where they want to they point their nose at the pillars and then do figure eights and like vehicular dancing or something, vehicular ballet. I know exactly what you're talking. That stuff is always really satisfying. It's actually more satisfying, I think, than watching people drive their vehicles into a light pole in a big wide open parking lot in the snow, because we know what's going to happen there, but there's no telling what's going to happen inside a parking garage. And it's always funny because like right next to it there's like on like YouTube there'll be a video of somebody doing the same thing, and they're like in their 240 SX, their S13 or whatever, and they've got a camera like mounted on the hood, and they show it coming like right next to the pillar, just barely just breathing on it, and Audi drivers are pretty bad too. But they're like Audis are strange because they look like they were intended to be like in an anime.
Audi drivers are the worst type of people who think they're car people because they own an Audi, but they will literally never check their oil. They are. I, I the Beamer people are bad, but I feel like the Audi people are worse. I've never met an Audi driver who knows how to treat a car. Or an engine rather.
I mean, I've known some adults like parental figure level adults who had Audis that took really good care of them, but they weren't like beating the cars up. I also wouldn't describe them as Audi drivers. I would just or the typical Audi driver. But yeah, for the most part, that's like its own class of absurdity. It's like it's what happens to people who are really into their golf and turbocharged it or drove it in like at insane levels of craziness, and they grew up and then they decided I'm going to get the really nice version of the golf, but it needs to be bigger because now they've got a family or something. I also don't understand why people want the Audi, especially when Volkswagen exists. There's so many different systems, like specialized systems just for the Audi, that make it just like I don't want to say a time bomb, but just it really is. It's just like a bunch of electrical systems waiting to fail. Actually, I think that's the one thing that is consistent in all of my experiences with old Audis or actually old German cars is they run great, but after a while their electrical systems start doing weird shit. And it's not so much that you can't fix it, it's that it's like good luck finding parts. I think that's actually the real theme with almost all of this stuff is good luck finding parts. And for
Well, and that's where the Volkswagen stuff is really good.
yeah,
Um, and it's like I happened to do a bunch of virtual laps in a golf recently, and I don't think any civilian needs any more car than that. But the issue is even that it's like
well, the
okay,
Gulfs are
the
great.
the issue with the golf is like even at 60 miles an hour, you can do damage, but because the car is so small, it's going to be way less damage than a fucking SUV at 60 miles an hour. And so there comes this trade-off of if everyone is driving much smaller vehicles, then inherently the damage will be reduced if people drive slower. Whereas if people drive the Golfs and then they're going 120, 130, then they might increase the amount of damage. So it's not just that smaller, slower cars equals less damage, but it's more so
I
how
had a
people drive them
I've
too.
had two four-door Golfs, and I was always able to pack more than enough inside of them. Like they were like when you fold the rear seats down, and they have plenty of space for two people. I can see that if there was like kid or kids involved, then that kind of usable space is immediately just quartered because you can't now you have all sorts of other things to consider. But I remember driving home from Chicago in like during a snowstorm, and it was a nice. It didn't really feel like anything was wrong. It didn't feel like the road was bad. I was going like 50 miles an hour, but on an interstate on a 65, but like it felt fine. It felt like a bigger vehicle than it was actually. But I think it also has to scale. Like I'm not a big person, so I don't really need a giant vehicle. At least not to have enough room to operate it and reach for stuff, I guess, or have room for whatever I need, like a beverage or whatever. And so I can see, like, yeah, minivans also make sense. If you've got a lot of people to move around, or there are mobility issues, and somebody's got to like, you got to move your mom around, your grandma, and it's not easy to get old people into cars that they have to climb down into or climb up out of to get anywhere.
Which that's not that the up doesn't work either.
Yeah,
So there's like a fine line with that where it's like minivans are too high for most old people.
yeah.
And it's like you gotta with that, you gotta pick your poison. But even then it's like, the mobility options could be better in that. So for example, more passenger seats could pivot 90 degrees than do. And it's one of those things that it's a small adjustment that could be made, and it wouldn't be small for the engineers because they've over engineered a bunch of other shit. But if it wasn't for that, then it would be a lot easier for engineers to put in a seat that could shift 90 degrees so somebody could just swivel out
One of my friends
instead of having to do that whole like lift my leg out.
and one of my buddies in high school, his grandma drove around in this, like, I think it was a Oldsmobile, like a Cutlass Supreme, but it was like the nicest. It put the Supreme in Cutlass Supreme because it had the seat that like it would rotate 90 degrees to the side so you get in and out really easily. Granted, it was a Cutlass, it was a giant Oldsmobile. It had a sofa in the back seat, but and it had enough room for that kind of rotating seat assembly. But you reminded me of that because that was the thing that stood out to me the most. Not the giant engine, not the paint job, not the just remarkable state that it was maintained in, but like that it had this seat because I'd never seen one. It hadn't even occurred to me that that was like a thing for cars. I don't think modern vehicles have enough space for that anymore. There's like way too much.
Minivans have them.
Oh yeah, minivans do.
Have them.
Full size vans.
Yeah.
Full size truck could probably facilitate it.
It's something that's a feature in a lot of them now, which again is like it should be a feature in pretty much all of them, but it's more so like, yeah, they want to sell it as a premium instead of something that should be standard.
Yeah.
But then, like you're saying, the cars with the back seats were fucking sofas. It's like they're so wide and so long, you don't realize it until you actually look up the numbers and you're like, holy fuck, this car is like 18 feet long. What the fuck? Like you look at a car and you don't think 18 feet or some shit like that.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. 12, I think 12 feet is like short for a car nowadays.
Yeah, for sure.
That's a car that doesn't have anything behind the rear wheels except a bumper, and it's a hatchback, and it also has a really tiny engine, so it doesn't have very much going on in front of the windshield either, except for the wheels and the motor, and all of that's tucked down really low anyways, because it's probably like 1.5 liters. It might be turbocharged, but it's still really tiny. What are those? What are the small cars? The K cars. Those things are anywhere from, yeah, they're around 11.2 feet, 3.4 meters. That's the maximum length of the lightweight Japanese car that Cheeto wants to bring to America. It's a really nice idea, but like someone's gonna get crushed in one of those things underneath a semi, and then that whole revolution's gonna change. There's gonna be demands to make them safer. Then the next thing you know, it'll be just like the Mini Coopers that weren't small anymore.
Right. The Mini Cooper in America, it felt more like a bug
Yeah,
as far as the size.
yeah. It really did. It was like it's a Golf. They were just Golfs. It was a it was just a hot hatchback. But these the Japanese ones are actually smaller than they're more like the original Mini Coopers. They're really tiny, which is why I have my doubts that they will, like, even if there is any adoption, like first year adoption that they're available, it's just going to take a couple of highly publicized accidents, and then the market is just going to be like, yeah, you know what, I'll take my chances on a motorcycle or something safe. I'm not gonna lie, these things look cool. Like the offerings from Japan, they're really neat looking. They're definitely micro machines.
Well, and I'm almost wondering if it's one of those things that with the K cars, you could put the airbags on like the outside.
Oh, and protect the vehicle itself.
Yeah, and make it more like a make the whole car an airbag
Yeah.
instead of trying to put airbags on the inside.
And then they bounce off it like a soccer ball.
Right, yeah. It's small enough.
Just driving down the interstate, everyone's going 80, and all of a sudden this Kevlar ball starts flying across the median and bounces across the road.
Well, and it's those types of things where it's like I don't know if the right type of innovation has been happening where it's like, yeah, there's a bunch of big screens in the car where it's like we should have retractable airbags on the bumpers if you know you're about to get into an and like on the sides too for that matter where it's like if you know you're about to get into an accident and you can fucking have time to inflate the airbag on the front or the back or wherever it's about to happen, it would save way more lives than not having that type of airbag. And so it's like the bumper is one thing, but an airbag or like some sort of like foam impact in addition, because it can like it would basically be a dampener. And so it's like any additional dampening that can be added to an impact should be added, but it's like now they're gonna add screens instead, or like more speakers or bigger rims or whatever, and it's like no,
So
I'd rather live than have rims.
so that's it's interesting. I was just looking at Ford Mavericks, and at the Lariat level, almost the top of the line level, the only tire option is a 19-inch rim, but the tire size is the same, like fundamentally the same as the XLT with the 17-inch rim. And I'm looking at that, and then I think to myself, that's essentially a low profile tire on what's supposed to be a truck, but it's definitely not going to be doing truck stuff with a low profile tire. What the hell? Like, that's another thing that gets me. Like, it seems like there are decisions being made about vehicles that have nothing to do with what vehicles are used for.
Because then it's gonna be some fucking
Like trust
18-year-old kid driving that car with his parents signing for it because that kid wants it because it looks cool.
like some of the K trucks have the same size truck bed as the small truck beds on full size trucks. They have the same kind of like space capacity in their tiny little frame. They have the same 5.5 foot by like 5 foot truck bed dimension.
No, man, I saw
That stuff's nuts. Like, and they have the same kind of weight rating, the same 1,500 pounds.
I saw a Cybertruck on the highway with the truck bed covered up, and it's like, why, how is this able to be called a truck? Like, there should be a standard for trucks, and it should be based around the bed. And it's like,
I think that it should have a tow hitch. Like
right,
that can
that's part of
that's
it.
like
That
that's
should be
like the
part of it.
if it doesn't have a tow hitch and if it doesn't have a functional bed, it's a wagon.
But then you have these confused ass half truck, half Jeep things that have a cab and a Jeep front, and you're like, what the fuck is this piece of shit? This is where I mean American car culture has no soul, and it's just taking
So
things and smashing them together.
I actually have a theory about why the Jeep truck exists, but it still looks like a Jeep. It's because so most Ford Rangers are aging out from off road capability because they're just too old and beat up, or they're not used for those things. And so there are no light trucks that can come save the Jeep that's like dangerously stuck in some place that full size vehicles can't get to. And some SUVs are lightweight and don't have very much mass, so when they get stuck, they're pretty screwed. And the heavy ones are even more screwed. And then Toyotas the Tacoma can go save them, but Tacomas are getting bigger and bigger too. And so eventually they need something that can go where the Jeeps can go, that has enough wheelbase that it can support all the additional crap, like carry the tools to do like extensive repairs out in the middle of nowhere. Which I know is the thing because there was like a solid 2 or 3 years where I think it's Matt's off-road wrecker service. They go out in the middle of nowhere in Utah and save people who break their truck out like doing dumb shit in the hills. And so I know that there's an entire culture of people that are like, yeah, I'm gonna go wreck my vehicle out in the middle of nowhere and then call my buddy up to bring out some really specific part and so I can fix it in the middle of the desert. That's a great idea. That's another reason I know that car culture is fundamentally broken, because I'm pretty sure the idea is supposed to be you build a reliable vehicle and operate it in such a way that you don't have to make repairs out in the middle of nowhere. Like who
Right.
Yeah, I'm gonna take my race car to the track so I can work on it in front of everybody. Said no race car driver ever.
Right. They want to operate like rally car drivers, but don't want to go through the actual trials of becoming like a professional, or they don't have to be professional.
They just want to work on their vehicle.
They just have to follow some rules that are like, yeah, there's a designated area for people who have their cars, or there's like a service that comes and gets cars towed off the side of the road because you're part of a league or something, not just some dude taking his car into the fucking woods or to the desert by himself and then gonna call. Hopefully his friend shows up with that part. And it's like that.
Man, it's really crazy. Like every
very
so often I see a
confused.
video where someone's like hooking up jumper cables to a bunch of batteries connected in series and using a stick welding rod and just doing like some kind of DC arc welding on their suspension arms in the middle of nowhere, and they're holding everything in place with ratchet straps. And I get it. There's probably a lot of fun that's being had to get to these places and to do that stuff, and that those parts probably don't break every time they go out. But still, like, race car drivers aren't taking their race car out into the field and like knowing that, oh yeah, this thing's definitely gonna break this time, probably in like the first 10 to 15 laps, but it'll be fine until then.
Well, and then you see how pristine the tracks are, and
I mean,
how
even Baja racers, those guys like run their trucks like insane fast over uneven territory, mixed terrain, and but they're not going out there like he's like, yeah, like as long as this thing holds through the first heat, we'll have enough time to fix it between heats, and everything should be fine. They're not doing that shit.
Right.
They're giving themselves the best opportunity or the best chance of succeeding the first time.
Yeah. And seeing, even the like, I don't want to, the local drag race scenes. It's like if somebody's car leaks fluid, they clean it up before they keep running. They're not just gonna drive like it's a street. And the difference between people who drive on the street like it's a track versus people who actually go to a track, it's a very different culture. But from
Yeah,
the outside,
if you
it
go to a
looks like it would probably
track,
be the same.
if you go to a track and someone says, "Hey man, you're leaking fluids," like that vehicle is turning off and it's not going back out until it's not stops leaking because they're not
Right.
going to let anyone drip fluids all over the track.
I mean, but some people's cars like blow lines like at the like when they're about to go, or they take off and a line blows or some shit, and
We have to limp to,
they leak on the track. And that's what I mean, like
but even then they got to
every
clean that
time.
shit up.
That's what I'm saying, every time that happens at a track, they clean it up. They don't just keep running. Every single time that happens, they clean it up before they run another race. Whereas on the regular street, that shit doesn't get cleaned up.
No.
And so when people are driving on a regular street as if it's a track, and they don't know what type of fluids or type of rocks or whatever, um
Yeah, they could be behind. They could have been. They don't. They might not realize it, but they're the next person in line behind some big ass truck that has a leaky brake cylinder, and it's just slowly just dripping brake fluid all over the place. And now you're about to hit some kind of, cloverleaf exchange, and it's a little cold out, and it's misty, and maybe it's raining or something. You don't know, and then there's that patch that's now slippery as fuck. Because my favorite though is when I see people who are driving like they're clairvoyant, like oh there must be like Neo or some shit. They can just like they can see through the code and they know what they're doing because the way people are like will drive in like well lately it's been fog has been the one that I've noticed people just driving like what I consider to be too fast, and that's really based on like how far can you see like clearly. And like we've had a couple of fog warnings where they're saying like, hey, travel is unadvised, don't do it, just stay home. And of course I see people outside, or when I go outside and I see them driving up the hill, and I can see them from before they're even visible because their lights are just creating these big beams just sticking out, and they're visible, but there's no way that you can see through that stuff. There's just like so I wonder how much of like how conscious people actually are of road conditions, or is it just like, oh, I can do anything because this thing is fast? Like how much sense of security is influencing the way people are driving like that? It creates a feedback loop like over time.
Oh, I mean, they 1,000%, and you alluded to it earlier. They started building vehicles anticipating people are going to crash them, um, and so they started like reinforcing and creating that feedback loop instead of doing things to make people safer drivers.
Like if cars were dangerous, like absolutely guaranteed to kill the driver if you fuck up kind of vehicle, and like everyone inside is pretty much either guaranteed to be horribly like maimed, disfigured, handicapped, whatever. Like I wonder how long it would take for the driving culture to be,
I
become
mean,
safer.
or conversely, what if you could only go 30 miles an hour because it was determined that was the speed at which you can't have a fatal accident? or whatever, 25, 20,
Yeah.
whatever it is.
Maybe it's dependent on the size of the road and the road condition. There's some math
What
that goes
whatever it is, exactly my point.
and then
There
it's
is a
geolocated.
limit. Exactly. That they do it with fucking F1 cars. So I don't know if you're aware, there's like points on the track where once you hit it, it allows you to go faster, and then once you hit the other point, it makes your car go slower. So it's like that technology already exists for like at least a decade. And so it's not fantasy shit. It's something that they could just go to the FIA and be like, "Hey, give us this technology and we're going to stop people from speeding and killing each other instead of having them." Like, again, it's like if I have the option to drive fast enough to kill someone, whether it be someone else or myself, that responsibility is now something I didn't have before I had that vehicle. If the car was limited to a point where it was like, oh, if you're at the top of a hill, anytime you get to 20 miles an hour, it's gonna activate the brakes. You can't even get it past 20 miles an hour going down a hill.
Like we can still have some kind of autonomy, like make it based on traffic density. So if somebody's on the interstate and there's nobody around for like a mile in any direction, then fuck yeah, they can go 80 miles an hour. But as soon as
No, no.
let them.
Nobody needs to go 80 miles an hour by
If
themselves.
they want to kill themselves on the interstate, like
No, because somebody's gonna have
around.
to. No, but somebody's gonna have to clean that up. They should not be able to subject the person that's gonna have to clean that shit up to do. That's what I'm saying. Like,
But we're
the
gonna encase
fact
them in
that
foam.
I mean, but again, it's like still that's it's like the way that it would have to be completely 100% biodegradable, and then there would have to be a zone dedicated to it. It's like, no, we shouldn't
I mean, I'm still kind of
we
advocating
shouldn't
for cars
build.
that allow the operator to kill themselves if they're doing
Mainly
something dumb.
because somebody would have to build, like, so it's like, yeah, if you can build it yourself, I can't stop you. But Ford shouldn't be able to build a fucking automatic death machine that a fucking 18-year-old can just get into, or Chevy or Chrysler or fucking Porsche. Like, no, 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 no. Like I said, if you want to build it, I can't stop you.
Maybe advanced licensing, like
That's
SCCA.
exactly it. Yeah.
So we have to implement advanced licensing and zone-based speed control and
Just like the fucking F1. That's
and
because again, then you,
I still think that there should be like maybe there's a specialized routes that are like unlimited speed for the lunatics. Like if they really want to do that, they can have a special road to do it on. It's not going to be well maintained, and it'll be like a graveyard of vehicles.
the thing is, you find out a lot of these fucking drivers don't even have regular driver's license because a lot of them aren't even old enough. So you have professional fucking race car drivers getting licensed professionally, but not having a civilian license. Think about that for a second. Because that's where I'm like,
Man, I'm not sure that I like the idea of even actually. The more that I think about that, I'm not sure if I like the idea of sharing the road with somebody who like isn't able to enter into a contract on
no,
their own. Like legally, they can't enter into contracts.
no.
That's
And they don't care about the social contract
they don't even know
we're
what it
all
is yet.
supposed to have. Exactly. They're not old enough to grasp it.
Oh man,
And this is why we need more virtual driving.
I mean, can we just like restrict them to like elect? No, we can't give them electric scooters. It'll just be a nightmare. That'll be like with the ATV squads. Oh, that's yeah, man. This is a tough one. The solutions are all like the kind of things that no one's gonna buy. People have to die. I'm convinced that if the quickest way to make roads safer is to make cars less safe and let people see what happens. I mean, I remember seeing like the old like why you drive safely videos, and they show you a crumpled up all metal car that has like a metal dash, and there's
Bro,
like blood all over that shit.
you act like Americans react to things normally. Like they had a fucking pandemic and then started fighting over toilet paper. Because you know how there's this theory that like, oh, if there's an alien invasion, people would unite. No,
No, they
that's
wouldn't.
not what would happen.
They'd
No,
fight over
Americans
territory.
don't do anything normally. They do not react to anything normally, which is where I'm like, I know the logical outcome of what you're saying is true, but Americans are illogical and they don't do anything right. They don't do anything normally.
Then we just no. In that case, we just build them bigger and faster with bigger engines, but no safety measures, and just let them slowly kill themselves off. And it'll take
That's
a while.
what, yeah,
And
that's
it's
what's
gonna be-
happening.
and it's going to suck because a lot of people are going to be like part of the collateral damage of this program. I guess that's the only thing to call it. It's definitely a program at that level, but and it's unfortunate, but I mean, we're talking about altering an entire culture of driving, so that's
One
that's
day-
a big thing.
One day, the last Dodge Charger will be repoed, and this culture will die.